idea of planning makes. People go a bit mad with bullet journals, I think. Hiya, welcome to Craftwerk. I'm Ruthie and today I'm back with another video, and this time I thought I would give you a little sneak peek into my sewing plans in the form of showing you my bullet journal and how I use it for my sewing plans. So first of all, if you don't know what a bullet journal is, it's basically just a way of journaling. So you don't have to have a specific thing that you buy. You can use pretty much any notebook. A lot of people use a dotted one or a squared one. I use a dotted one. And I've been using it for over a year now, and I use it for my day-to-day stuff. And it's basically like keeping lists. That's the main thing, which I do anyway. But yeah, because it's plain, the good thing about it is you can use it however you want and you can just adapt it. The bullet journal is like a system of using a notebook, and then you can just take it off into all sorts of realms and paths, and yeah, however you want to use it basically. So I won't go into the normal part of a bullet journal, so I will link down below what it is if you are interested. People go a bit mad with bullet journals, I think, or like, it's amazing the creativity that people put into their bullet journals, and it's so impressive and I love looking at them. It really sort of pleases my brain to see like these really neat, colourful, creative bullet journal spreads, as they're called. I don't do that. Now, I love stationery, I love making things pretty, but really I need my bullet journal to be useful because I have a lot of thoughts and I need to get them down quite quickly. As well as that, my handwriting is not particularly neat. So yeah, I'm not about to show you the most beautiful bullet journal ever. I started using it for sewing, mainly because actually I wanted to document my makes. More than anything, that was the main thing. Rather than necessarily planning, I really wanted a way of documenting, of writing down like what I'd made, so that I had a note when I was going back to blogging or vlogging or whatever, and it was all in one place. And it just made sense that that would be within my bullet journal because that's where I keep all my other notes. But I didn't like having it like interlaced with my everyday bullet journal stuff, so I tried having it in a different bullet journal, but then I just didn't use it. So I've started putting it all in one bullet journal, so my normal bullet journal. This, by the way, is just the Leutram like dotted one. It's not the official bullet journal thing. I did have that in blue last year, but it doesn't really have anything different, and it's a little bit more expensive. This was on special offer and it's orange, and I thought it'd be nice to have an orange one for a change. I put all my sewing plans in the back because I don't want it too much interfering with the front. So the first page I recently put in, kind of borrowing some ideas from Lizzie B, whose video I will link down below. But you'll notice as well that each one has a page number as well up with the pattern, so I can go to that page number. So the Lander pants are on page 242, and I think it's always useful to get, this is why I like this book for the bullet journal, because it has already numbered pages. As I say, you can use any notebook, but really to like do the bullet journal in its most basic form, you need to number the pages because yeah, you have an index as well. So the point is like you don't have to have everything like in separate sections. So yeah, just going through the table, I've obviously got the pattern at the top, and I write what the pattern is and who it's by, and then the page number that the project is on, if applicable. I'll get to that in a minute, and then what view I plan on doing, again, if applicable. And then the next bit is the fabric. Then the lining, obviously that's not applicable for some things, so I can just put NA in there. Interfacing, I haven't filled much of that in yet. And then additional notions. I've realised that notions probably does need as big a box as like fabric and pattern and stuff, but I did it as a smaller box. It does need a little bit of a bigger box, but never mind, that's the thing, you learn from it and then you know, alter that the next time you do it. And then details, so there I'll write like what it is rather than draw a picture, because I've got that later on. And then when I make it, I can fill in the adjustments, I can tick off that it's made, and then I can tick off that I have shared it on my socials as well. And then I just have separate project pages. The reason I do separate project pages, I may not do it for everything, like if I've already made it before, but if it's like a new pattern, for example, yeah, I like the idea of a separate project page because, as I say, it is really good to take notes on what I did, why I chose it, and all the little details that I might need to remember for a blog or a vlog post, etc. But that doesn't mean to say that I'm gonna like follow it verbatim. So for example, on this one, the shirt plan, I will talk about this shirt in another video properly, but you can see that I plan to do like a short cropped shirt with pleated detail on the back. That's not what I've ended up doing. I've ended up basically doing the Helmy tunic from Named Clothing and using that as a pattern, but I do still love it. I love the fabric, and having this plan in here, now I can fill in the notes down here saying what I actually did with the fabric, but I did make this with another fabric, so I'm going to staple that fabric here as well so that I have the notes, so I can staple it underneath and then you've got the two different fabrics. That is part of the reason why I only staple in two places and why I choose to staple rather than glue or anything, but also because I want to be able to like feel the fabric and feel the drape, and if it's all stuck down then I won't be able to. All you can see is like the weave and the pattern and the feel like from the outside. The other great thing about this is, as you can see, depending on the project, you need a different setup. So for my freehand top setup, I needed to write down the measurements I needed, whereas for the shirt plan, I needed to draw out the pattern pieces. Then for projects that are a commercial pattern, so the Lander pants here, you can see, obviously I haven't made them yet, so there's bits that I haven't filled in yet, but that requires a different setup again. And then moving on to the Kelly anorak, you can see that I've got spaces for two different swatches that I've put aside here to remind myself that I need both the main fabric and the lining, and that I want the lining to be as interesting as the main fabric, if not more so. So yeah, I'll just sort of talk you through what I do with a pattern one. So I start with drawing out the line drawing, which I just copy. I'm not very good at drawing, so I tend to draw it with pencil, and you can probably see where I've rubbed it out quite a lot because it just didn't look right at all. I draw it with pencil and then I go over it with pen because I just like the way the pen looks, but when I've got it right in pencil then I can go over it in pen. I then will write notes, which is sort of just pattern details, I guess. So in this case, I've got the view A, the pattern type. I haven't decided whether I'm going to buy a paper or PDF of this. So I've left out the cost as well. Designer I could fill in, but I haven't. And then, yeah, I haven't looked up the size or difficulty yet, but I know I want to make notes of that as well. Then the checklist I will fill in later, but on the Lander pants it includes things like fabric bought, fabric washed, notions bought, pattern printed, finished, photos taken, blogged. But again, it will depend on the pattern, like what that checklist is. And then I will write notes about the fabric. So I've got this fabric here. To cut out a swatch, I always cut out like a square piece, and then if it's not knitted, if it's like likely to fray, I'll just go over it with pinking shears. And again, I've only stapled it like on one side so that I can feel what the fabric's like, but also have space to put different fabrics in if I make it again. And I've written like where it's from, and then again I've left some space because I'm hoping this will become like a staple piece in my wardrobe and a staple pattern in my pattern stash, so I can write it out again about a different type of fabric that I use. And then I've got a big space for notes. So I really like this particular way of doing it, especially with having the table first, partly because, as you well know by now, I'm trying to be a little bit more choosy about what I make. So a few years ago, the idea of planning makes in this way would have seemed a little bit mad in my mind, because I always just responded to the fabric that I was buying, and then I'd maybe make a plan, but I would usually just change that depending on what I had. I used to sew completely spontaneously in a lot of, not completely, but really spontaneously, and I would just go, I want to sew something. With this fabric, I can make this. And like, unsurprisingly, that wasn't always a successful tactic. And unfortunately, I did make a lot of things that didn't work out, but that was okay for then. Now, as my skills have improved, my experience has improved, but also my style and understanding of my personal style has improved, I'm planning my makes because it allows me to really focus that creative energy on things that I want to wear, that are missing from my wardrobe, and things that will hopefully last a long time. So I'm spending more time finishing, spending more time choosing and curating what it is that I'm making as well. With this table here, I'm mainly putting in things that are like really important to my wardrobe. As you can see, these are 3 things that I'm hoping will be real staples in my wardrobe. And so yeah, that's a little insight into my planning process at the moment. As I say, I've tried other variations, so this is obviously quite new, and it seems to be working quite well for me at the moment. I am able to fill it in without feeling like too much pressure to make it look really beautiful, which I always feel with the bullet journal. Like, my bullet journal's a mess, really. I have some like pretty pages, but the majority of it's a mess, and it can feel a little bit daunting when you see everyone's bullet journals all the time and they always look really fancy and really pretty and really neat, and you feel like, well, obviously the bullet journal system isn't for me because I can't do all that, or I don't want to do all that, or I don't have the time to do all that. It's good to remember that it is a system that is supposed to be useful and helpful for productivity and for organisation. It's not the whole making it beautiful thing is that's what some people do with it. You don't have to do that, and I don't have to do that. But yeah, I really like documenting my makes in this way and planning them as well. I hope this has been interesting. I'd love to know how you plan your makes, what you think of the bullet journal system. Do you use it in your day-to-day? Do you use it for sewing? Or do you use one of the sewing planners? I know there's some great ones out there. They're just not quite right for me. I think I always look at them and look through them, and I often just think, well, I can just do that myself, or it doesn't have a section for this, or it's got too big a section for this, or sometimes I don't want to draw everything out. And that's why I really like the table system as well, because I think that it allows you to write down makes without necessarily having to do a whole page for it or a whole double spread. As I say, it's kind of early days with this style of planning for me, because I've tried a few different ways of doing it, but so far it's working really well and I really like it. So hopefully this will help me to curate my closet really, really well, and yeah, in a couple of months I'll have a brand new, gorgeous set of clothes that I feel really happy with. So that's it from me today. Don't forget to find me on Instagram and Facebook. Let me know what you thought of today's video, and if you have any requests or suggestions for future videos, I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you again next week. Have a great week. Bye!